Hello everyone, Jule, Kuzu Zambola. Sorry, now I feel like I don't have anything left to say after so many people talking about this. Still, yet I'll try my best to put on some of my views in this. Oh yeah, before that, I would like to extend my thanks for this wonderful event. And it's a really exposure for me, like I'm coming outside India for the first time. So thank you very much. So, yeah. So Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo, for those of you who is, I think all of us know about it. Like it's very famous. As Tibetan Book of Dead. So Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo is considered a Terma work under Nyingma tradition. Terma is a treasure work, which are kept concealed just to discover later on at the right time. So this book is composed by Guru Rinpoche, and it was a part of a larger text collection called Self-Liberation Wisdom of Peaceful and Wrathful Deities. So the text is known to have composed in the 8th century, and it was later transmitted to his first disciple, Yeshe Tsogel, as Gela was speaking about. However, about Yeshe Tsogel, Gela was talking about. However, the teachings were initially concealed, and then in the 14th century, it was unearthed by Terton, or treasure revealer, called Karma Lingpa. Yeah. So, talking about the current application of the text, in places like, since I'm from India, Ladakh, in Ladakh and Tawang, Spiti, these are the places where the practice of this text is still carried on, a practice where this book is read in the funeral of somebody who is dead, in front of the deceased one. And the belief is that it will guide the death through the Bardo states of the after-death states. I mean, after death and before rebirth, in that Bardo state, the deceased will be guided. That's the whole view. Talking about the meaning of the Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo, Bardo can be understood as in-between or intermediate state, as Chogam Tungpa Rinpoche also put it as gap. He understood it as gap. And ThosGrol meaning, Thos meaning to hearing, Dol meaning to liberate. In Ladakhi language, Dol also has the connotation of to untie the knot of being in samsara. Of course, that's my point. In northern India, the intermediate state between the death and rebirth has been established in 5th century, but it changed gradually. So in 13th century, sixfold within the one cycle of samsara, sixfold Bardo within one cycle of samsara has been accepted by the Buddhist tradition. Just like in Nyingma tradition also, Dzogchen. So there are 6 states of existence or consciousness, 3 living when we're living, when we are alive, and 3 after death states. So Skenaski Bardo, Milamgi Bardo, Samtangi Bardo are the 3 living states, and Chikai Bardo, Chosmitki Bardo, and Shritpai Bardo are the 3 after death states. So I won't go into detail about the states. My approach of this presentation is to show some of the Western perspective on this book, some of the commentaries on this book, and also to compare with the Eastern and put on some of my views. Yeah. So Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo was it got famous in the West when Evans Wentz first introduced it in 1927. He translated it as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So the title was it was mistitled, the scholars argued. That's why later in 1975, Chogyam Tungpo Rinpoche and Francis Fremantle used the approximate title as The Great Liberation Through Hearing. So, yeah. There are many translation and commentaries that's been done on this book specifically. So, but I'm not gonna go into detail in all. I'll be picking some of the books and I'm gonna be talking about it. So Evans Wentz has a theosophical influence on his first interpretation of the book, a translation of the book in 1927. As we talk about Robert Thurman's translation, he talks about the cultivation of art of dying. And Carl Jung has also passed a psychological commentary, which I'm going to later talk about in my presentation. And Robert Wicks, this is again interesting one. He passed a therapeutic psychological commentary on the book. And further also, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has also wrote a introductory commentary on the book. Cubas has written a historical commentary, and there are many other studies has been done, like controversial aspects of the Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo in the near-death experience by Michael Nam, or Donald Lopez, who tries to connect it with the Mormon history, and Jessica Locke. So I'll be talking about some of them. Okay. Here, first I'll talk about Carl Jung. So he begins his paper saying it is meant for death and dying, like the book of Egyptian book of death, sorry. So it's supposed to provide a guidance during the after-death states of the Bardo. So he also calls this book so unusual because for the reason that it is not negatively European. So meaning it doesn't choose either or, approach, yeah. He says that it's affirmative, saying it is both, it follows the both and end. So he chooses this paragraph, which I'll just read it out. Recognizing the voidness of thine own intellect to be Buddhahood, and knowing at the same time to be thine own consciousness, thou shalt abide in the state of divine mind of the Buddha. So his interpretation of this line is so much Western, so much Westernized. But as we talk about some books, any text, it has a lot of background, cultural background or philosophical background. So I think he kind of misinterpreted, which Dalai Lama, in His Holiness Dalai Lama, when we see his interpretation, he says clearly that generating oneself as a meditational deity is a means to individual union of realization of emptiness and perfect awareness. So it is something very different from the ordinary perception and apprehension. So when we understand that, when we think about Buddha being a union with the you, that means you're thinking of the your duality of the mind vanishes. So meaning you're meditating on the pure state of your mind. So yeah, And Jung also states that Bardo ThosGrol is completely a psychological description of a human psyche, complete description of human psyche, sorry. On the extent, he also goes on to the extent saying that where in Chosngit Bardo, there are wrathful deities that's been described. He says it can be compared to the person who is suffering from schizophrenia or split mind disorder. His ending was he talks about that Bardo ThosGrol is being a closed book and stays a closed book is how he concludes his commentary, to which Wicks argues, saying that he's following a really aristocratic attitude towards the book's revelation for the people. So, yeah. So he tries to show that how the book is clearly for everyone, whether they have the capability to understand it or not, because it offers a series of opportunities at every level of consciousness, and it prescribes for enlightenment. So he says, from his understanding, he says that it is written specially for the benighted and bewildered souls. Yeah. So when in Bardo ThosGrol, when we are being urges an individual to reinterpret that the world is no more than the reflection in the water, or that is illusory. Wick says that it aims to dissolve the meaning and reality of the individual's former world by detaching the individual from involvement in the world, in that world, and which allows the person to become to be reborn. So in a way, he tries to say that there's a commonality, or say the main aim of both the Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo and the psychoanalytic method of dream interpretation has the same aim, that is to alleviate the psychic suffering or restore mental health. Oh, so sorry. I have so many things to say. Yeah, okay. 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, I'll just try to wrap. Okay. Another point is groundlessness. Jessica Locke, she tries to understand, sorry. Okay, yeah. Her paper is on a cross-cultural relevance of the groundlessness. So how she understands groundlessness, how she describes is the events in our day-to-day life where our apparent foundations of one's selfhood and thought vacate. So she says that groundlessness can be used as a moral, psychological dimension because it shifts our attention from the rigid system of thought and the rigid concept of selfhood that we have built up from such thought to the dynamic relationship with the unfixed selfhood. So in a way that it helps us break our infectious way of thinking. Yeah. So in a way, she says that Bardo is also serves as a way where desolation of and rupture of selfhood can be experienced. But the problem is that for us to be in that, after the death state, it's just one stand chance. So she goes on to saying the mini deaths that happens on an everyday level. For example, the mini deaths, what she meant by is like daily small changes that happens in our life, which affects our experience and can be called Bardo as well. So she says that there is a loss of security, one might look at it as, but then there's always a potential for growth and transformation. Okay, so sometimes when we know the answer of certain problems that we have, but we are not able to cope up with it, like even if we want to. For example, we understand that we lack the true intrinsic self, but yet we are attached. So what are the reasons that are responsible for such things? So these are the mental blocks or the obscurations which are present in both subtle and gross level. Here the obscurations, there are two obscurations described in Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo. One is the afflictive obscuration and then cognitive obscuration. Afflictive obscuration can be understood as a gross level of obscuration, and cognitive obscuration can be understood as a really subtle level of obscuration. Yeah, I'm just there. Okay, so the Bardo ThosGrol also talks about the antidotes of such obscurations. So here is where I'm bringing in, bringing in the concept of emptiness, concept of compassion, and impermanence. The book itself suggests that when we focus on these things, it works as an antidote for our suffering, for the obscurations to eliminate. So I'll just, yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So what happens if when we meditate on the impermanence? So when we realize that everything is everything is impermanent. Okay, I'll just wrap it up. Yeah. Okay. So my conclusion is that given the concepts in Bardo ThosGrol Chenmo, we can say that it helps us to understand that there is a way to eliminate our suffering and help not just ourselves, but help others too by focusing on ourselves, meaning changing ourselves for the betterment to help others. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Sorry for the muddled up description.